Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Kratos.
No, you're not.
I can't do the dad. Yeah, that's twice now I've gotten that comment. Thank you so much. Flattery will get you everywhere with me. And I'm Andrew.
The real Kratos. And once again, thank you to all our generous patrons who kept us going for well over 500 episodes now.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideoGamesPodcast. Dude of the week is Cowie.
Thank you, Cowie. It's been a while, I think.
Yeah, I think it's been over a year.
It's been a little while,
but been here for a while.
Yeah, welcome back in. Thank you for being with us here still. And yeah, I guess to sort of follow up, I did a personal video that blew up because I went for the heavy clickbait title. No shame in it or whatever. But we talked about a podcast, which is, again, it's incredible how much better everything does when you're negative about something. And I hate it. But here we are. We're just going to... The train keeps rolling for Microsoft. Now, we've always been sort of like, we don't have a console allegiances, but Xbox Game Pass is the best deal in gaming.
Well, it sure was.
It sure was. And it still kind of is, but now it's like, there's a huge effing asterisk now on if you like these games specifically. Because at $30, it's not nowhere near as much of a deal. And then it is still a decent deal if you're really into EA and Ubisoft and Activision games. If you like the major AAA Western third-party publisher stuff, it's still kind of a good deal.
It's gonna lose access to the EA stuff, right?
No. That's part of the Ultimate.
EA, but now that
Ubisoft,
private equities,
but it's like EA and Ubisoft classics and like Fortnite Crew. There's like a little bit of I think it's going to be a little bit of a change. You're not going to be getting brand new Ubisoft or EA games.
Right.
You don't get brand new ones. You're going to get ones that are like, yeah, you're going to get like maybe like a year old, or older. So it's not, you're not getting brand new stuff. Like you said, you're not getting Battlefield 6 with it. And the sort of change up also with COD will only be for Ultimate subscriptions, for day one. Yeah. Like, so what is it? I think because the middle subscription now is like, you don't get day one anything, but you get guaranteed, you get first party games within a year, within 12 months,
within a year,
except COD, which may not happen at all. They may never put COD on the middle tier subscription. They're basically saying like COD is like exempt from this. COD only exists in Ultimate, pretty much, is kind of what they're going with. So, and kind of like, okay, so how did we get to this point? And we kind of Schreier and Bloomberg did a really good breakdown of this, and we kind of have a name now. And a lot of it's funny, again, everyone's kind of like immediately going for Phil, and there's a little bit of frustration there for me personally, because I'm like, you don't understand. It's like people think Phil and people in the past thought Reggie had control over their corporate decisions, and they don't. They really don't. Phil's problem is Phil's complacent. Phil's gone along with this. Phil has willingly agreed to keep going along and like make himself like, the sacrificial lamb.
When what really option does he have?
Yeah, well, the option is basically like to quit, I guess. But we do actually have more of a name, thanks to Bloomberg, and that is the Chief Financial Officer of Microsoft Corporation.
Right.
Not Xbox, Microsoft. Amy Hood is her name, and she's apparently one of the people putting pressure to get more money out of the Xbox division by raising the cost of Game Pass, by raising the cost of the consoles. So, and why are they doing this? Because they spent $70 billion on Activision, ABK,
right.
And they really want some of that money back. And to follow up with, they spent a bunch of money. They need to get it back. They apparently were very at odds with each other internally about last year, whether to put Blop 6, the brand new COD game of the year, on Game Pass or not on Game Pass. And they decided, let's put COD Blop 6 on Game Pass day one. And it did not pay off. It did not have a surge of Game Pass subscriptions that they basically were gambling they were going to get by offering the newest COD for free. And I think this is an epic misread of your audience, because millions, if not tens of millions of people who buy Call of Duty every year, they don't really buy anything else. That's the game they buy the year. They buy Call of Duty. Maybe they buy Madden. Maybe they buy something else. They basically, they're the casualist of casual gamers. They every year they plop down $60, $70 for a brand new Call of Duty game, and then that's it. Walk away. Even at $20 a month, sitting there like, well, you could do $20 a month and you could get COD for free. I'm like, yeah. And then in 4 months, I'm spending more for Game Pass than I am, spending once a year on Call of Duty. You spend $60, $70 once, in 4 months, you're already costing more, right? They don't buy anything else. That is 12 months of time where they don't buy a video game. So them paying $20 a month to all these other games on Game Pass they don't care about. So to me, it was just this it's a massive misreading of your audience. Of course they didn't.
Which
there wasn't
Microsoft's
this
great at doing. They misread their audience more than any other company I can think of.
Yeah, to me, I'm like, oh, of course not. Like the major audience of Call of Duty, I would argue the majority of Call of Duty players don't buy many other video games a year, and the ones who do, who are avid gamers and do play Call of Duty, they probably already had Game Pass, like I did, right? So I'm not gonna you're not bringing in new subscribers, because those who are that in tune to the game industry already had it. Or it very much was like, well, I kind of play COD and maybe 1 or 2 other games a year. This isn't worth it for me. I don't care. So they epically misread it. I don't, and why they decided strictly just the newest COD and kind of like left the other ones in the wayside. Again, huge fumble in my mind, because I think,
well, it makes way more sense to put the old ones that people are nostalgic for on Game Pass.
Yeah, because I'm saying, like, what if you were Game Pass instead of the newest COD, like Blop 6 or the newest COD last year? This you got to pay full price for. It's a new game. That's it. It's not on Game Pass. Just not on Game Pass. It's not. But, it is on Game Pass. COD 4, Blops 1, Blops 2.
People are playing it.
COD 4 remastered, all the other ones in between. We just put all these old Black Ops 4, Blackout. We will put the BR, the beloved Blops 4 Blackout BR experience that is still online and functioning. We will put that on Game Pass. And if you want a free BR of COD, here it is. It's the older one, but it is very beloved. And we have Warzone still going, and we have the new game coming out. Why you didn't go that route with it still to this day confuses me to no end.
There has to be a complication where it would have cost them more than it's worth. Like, there has to be. It can't just be.
Well, I've heard talk that like the back end of getting those systems and network and servers and everything like into the Game Pass ecosystem would be difficult. I don't think I don't know, but I don't believe that for Blackout. I don't believe at least putting Blops 4 on there, which was an Xbox One and an Xbox Series compatible game that's already it's still up and running. I don't believe that would have been any issue with Game Pass personally whatsoever. Like, it's just okay. Well, it's on Game Pass. Download it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about programming I don't know anything about programming necessarily. So if somebody who does know is like, yeah, actually, that would be really hard, I feel like, yeah, all right. Like, I just accept
if it was really hard, whatever. But I'm like saying, like, you could have at least gone to Blops 4 and said, here's a BR experience that you can buy, but is also on Game Pass now. Essentially, boosting the numbers of that much more enjoyable BR experience. So just to have that bullet point, hey, you got Warzone, and on Game Pass, you actually get Blackout as well, which is something the Warzone crowd doesn't get, which is funny because that's what they're doing right now with the next game. There's going to be a Blackout experience in Blop 7 that is separate from Warzone because it's going to have Blackout rules.
Oh, yeah.
no loadouts and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And Warzone is actually going to be its own unique thing, and then they're going to have the Blackout experience for Blop 7, which will also be its own unique thing, and then of course Blop 7 multiplayer.
The thing is, especially if they made it so that, the old Blackout was accessible to the lower tiers of Game Pass specifically. So it's like, oh, if all you want to play is Blackout, but you don't want to pay $20 a month for any of the other stuff, it's like, oh, the middle tier, or
Yeah.
$30 a month.
And this is
The
what a
middle
lot of other
tier will let you play Blackout.
this is what a lot of people have been saying too. I'm like, why don't they just let us pick and choose what we want in our service? Like, what if I want this but not that kind of thing? And it's fair. I can understand the logistics of that. That's just kind of a nightmare. But yeah, like the $30 a month, and it's like, well, what if I don't want, what if I don't want, EA games or Ubisoft games or
Right.
Fortnite Crew? What if all I really wanted was the day one first party games? Can I just pay $20 a month and just keep just the day one first party games, and you can have your Ubisoft? But it's like, no, it's all or nothing. So
Yeah, I
it's
understand. I understand why they would do that though. Because the day one stuff is the baited hook. The
but
other
now
stuff
it's
isn't
not.
the bait. This is the
The
bait.
problem is, now it's half the cost of the game. In 2 months, you've paid the cost of the game, pretty much,
Well,
give or
yeah,
take $10.
3 months really, and that's where they're going.
Well, not
That's what they're
even though.
gonna
I mean,
try and go
okay,
for.
okay, new games are $70. In 2 months, you've spent 60. You basically spent, again, give or take $10. You've spent the cost of the game on Game Pass for 2 months.
But they're gonna try and go to 80.
They did, and they already backpedaled on Outer Worlds too on that.
Yeah, but they're gonna do it again.
Of course,
Like
when they're
like
good. Well, they thought, okay, Mario Kart. They thought Mario Kart World $80, and Nintendo's not backing down. That means people are okay with it. And then they found out, oh no, people are not okay with $80. Most people are getting Mario Kart World in the bundle. People aren't buying the $80 retail version of it, and there was so much backlash. They're like, all right, 70. You're right, 70.
we're in for interesting times with Microsoft in general. I wonder how much they're gonna. I mean, they're gonna back out of a lot of things, as we'll
Yeah.
discuss. But
They're waiting for GTA 6 to come out, and then they'll be like $80. Yeah, now you're all cool with 80, right? Like, I think it was just sort of like, all right now it's a little. I guess we tried to jump the gun a little too much, but yeah, the big rumor also coming out is that it's all rumor, but like Microsoft is possibly leaving the console race
they're
entirely in
getting
next
out of
gen.
hardware.
Yeah.
Microsoft, the company known for not liking being in hardware. I feel like someone said that. I feel like someone's been saying that for years, that they don't like being in hardware. I feel like a certain bald man with a luscious beard. I mean me. It's me. I'm talking about me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for years, I mean, every time Microsoft has gotten into hardware, they eventually abandon hardware no matter how successful it is. Look at the
Yeah.
Zune.
The
People
Zune.
love the damn
Do they
Zune.
still have a Windows Phone? I don't even think so.
No, I don't think Windows phones even exist anymore. But Windows phones were sort of popular with people who liked Windows really loved Windows phones, which always confused me because Windows 8 was basically the mobile
Yeah.
OS that they put also on computers, and it was a pile of shit, but apparently was great on a phone.
hmm
Uh, I'll never know because I didn't want a Windows phone. Y- I am more surprised that they lasted this long
Mm.
staying in hardware after Xbox One being so. I sort of, because they turn tail and get the hell out like immediately usually.
Yeah.
First sign of trouble. And Xbox One was the very first sign, a long sign of trouble. Um, I've been
And again, I
optimistic
think
about Microsoft for a long time too. Is like I keep giving them the benefit where I'm like, well, they do have good ideas. They just self-sabotage almost every single time. And they're
right,
doing it.
because
They're
they
doing it
raised
again.
the price of the system twice this year.
Yeah.
Twice. The Series X costs more than a base PS5 now.
Well, all consoles have to turn a profit now too. That's something that like the industry changed pretty drastically. The 360 they didn't get a profit on. right? It wasn't like they were selling
Yeah,
that
the
at
360
cost
was
or
well, and then the big multi-billion-dollar red ring problem, and um, yeah, they. I'm trying to think of when they started. There was like 1 or 2 years where they finally started. I think at the end of the 360's life or something, where like things were technically profitable finally for a tiny, for like a brief window, if anything.
yeah, and we're talking about specifically the console. They were making plenty of money off of games and stuff like that too. But consoles have always been loss leaders for I don't know, everything prior to PS4. I think was like basically a loss leader. They didn't expect they either sold it at cost or they sold it for a little less than what it costs them to make
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Um,
Very
because
few video game systems other than Nintendo stuff were sold at profit.
well, even it wasn't GameCube sold at a loss.
No, Wii U was.
Wii U was sold at a loss, right? Yeah. The
That
Wii
worked
they were
out well
making
for
a
them.
profit on from day one. Which is funny because the Wii is maybe one of the best examples or best comparisons to people who buy COD once every year and nothing else is like fully half the people who bought a Wii for Wii Sports and then never bought anything
Right.
else for it.
I mean, I could be wrong. I'd have to I'd actually have to really go back and look. But like if you look at Nintendo's, net profit or whatever during the years of the GameCube, it wasn't actually bad. They had the Game Boy Advance,
Mhm.
and the GameCube actually wasn't causing any crater to their industry. I'm like, why? Because it was cheap. Like they're just like it was no, it was super, shrunk into what it is. Like it's just a GPU, CPU, and it just belts out, graphics. That's it.
Yeah.
They
It's
were always
great.
in.
The GameCube was great, and I'll stand by that.
So I mean, it was a great system and all
It
that,
was
because
great.
at the end of the day, it's like, oh, but the PS2 and it played DVDs, and how many of you watch DVDs? I know you're going to go on a tangent about like, oh, retail, like physical's making a comeback, but it's like, how many people have DVD collections in rapid rotation use nowadays? Nowadays, you don't sit there and think, oh, my DVDs, now, but you will look back at your GameCube like, oh, look at all those GameCube games, they were fun. You
Yeah,
probably play them as much as you watch DVDs, honestly,
my
though.
I actually watch DVDs a lot. Um, I brought a whole thing of DVDs to your bachelor party.
Yeah,
Um, no, I one of the things that I really loved about the GameCube was the fact that the game you could bring your whole game collection very easily over to a friend's house. Especially if they had a GameCube, you could bring your whole collection over and and a couple of controllers. But like the GameCube was also very easy to throw in a backpack and take around with you.
yeah,
Um, I I don't know if we'll ever have a console again like the GameCube that just felt like it was like the deck of cards of gaming consoles. I mean,
yeah.
we know 2 or 3 people who just always had it with them
In the backpack, yeah,
in the backpack or in the trunk of their car or had like Rodney had his Q, which never left his home. And then he had that silver beat up GameCube that just stayed in his backpack, and he'd keep his whole collection of GameCube games and a few controllers in that backpack. And
yeah,
like he would just show up to house parties and we would end up playing like Mario Tennis or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um I don't know if we'll never have that again. Uh, Portable gaming just
Well, that's kind of the weird, interesting thing about it, because that was kind of the sales pitch for the Switch, if you think about it, right? And Microsoft has been heavily trying to get their Xbox Ally X, partnership going, and the Switch 2 is kind of a thing,
that's
but
also some bad news. If Microsoft is truly leaving the hardware game and they're like, oh, okay, we're gonna become a third party software only publisher. Like, how long do you think they're gonna support that Ally X? Assuming let's
well,
assume
granted,
that it's already deep
it's
into
not
its phone.
necessarily their thing, so they don't really have to worry about it. And
Oh,
again,
I
like
guess yeah,
you're
they're not the one building it. They're
and hey,
just separating it.
there is already an Ally X, that is not Microsoft branded. That's
Yeah,
oops, ignore that. Um, that it's just fine. It's a big, powerful, beefy, portable PC.
that's right. I
Um,
keep forgetting that the Ally X is just Xbox branded Ally, but
Well,
Uh,
so the Xbox branded ones are different hardware. There are different internal specs on the Xbox versions of them. It's not just the fact that they have handles on the side now. Um, there are beefier specs, slightly beefier specs inside an Xbox Ally versus a regular Ally.
I'm
I don't know
I
if you knew. The messaging has been very confusing on the thing. I understand.
Well, all of Microsoft's messaging is very confusing. That's part of the problem. They Although I guess in a way Microsoft will single-handedly be saving third-party publishers because they're just going to become a third-party publisher.
But they practically already are, though.
Well, yeah, they have been for a few years now, but you know, there they had a chance. There was a couple of years. I mean, definitely a year or so ago, they could have made a comeback. There was kind of a as a first party.
Yeah, well,
Game Pass was a double-edged blade. I do think Game Pass is where all of them wanna go. They all wanna go to subscription because it's guaranteed money every month. They don't want hardware like, they don't want physical games the same way that everybody wants to get away from physical DVDs,
yeah.
except the people who wanna buy physical DVDs. Me. Um, all of them are moving towards that. What they really want is to make it so that Ultimate will eventually be, like, $50 a month, and that middle tier will be the $30 a month. And they're hoping the majority of people will be in the middle tier getting sort of the minimum for the money, meaning they'll have the widest profit margin on the middle tier because they'll be like, I don't know, ads, or you'll have to spend money for certain extras.
Yeah, there's even rumors of
And then
of
the
a
whales
free
will
ad
be,
tier coming.
yeah, it's a, everything's going to go that direction just because they, all of the tech world is obsessed with that continuous money, with that subscription based income.
Doesn't Microsoft going like say they go third party and they go like, oh well, Xbox Play Anywhere, you can play Xbox anything, like subscribe to Game Pass, log into your Game Pass on anything. Doesn't this sound exactly like Google Stadia?
They all had that project. I mean, Amazon had the best streaming gaming thing, and I can't even remember what that
Luna.
was called. No, yeah, Luna.
It's still
And
around.
yeah, but nobody that I know plays it. I got to try it once when I was a contractor for them, and it's cool. Uh, is it going to be the future? I don't know, but like everybody copies each other now. Like that innovation is just iteration. You know, Google comes up with Stadia, so Amazon's got to have its Stadia. Microsoft's got to have its Stadia. Like everybody's got to have their Stadia. I think
Well, I'm
even
I mean,
Sony looked
Stadia
into.
failed spectacularly, like we all knew it would. But it's like Microsoft is just kind of doing this weird thing where they're mental gymnasticsing themselves into becoming Stadia
I mean,
at the end of the day.
technically, from a financial perspective, AI is failing all over the place, and yet Microsoft is clearly pivoting towards AI.
Yeah, they're spending as much as they spent on Activision into AI, more even.
Like that is clearly why they're tightening the belt so fast on everywhere else. Is they're pivoting towards AI and they need lots of money for it, even though everywhere that is pivoted towards AI is doing worse than they were.
I don't understand where they're going to get how they're going to get money from it, but whatever. That's a whole nother subject. But we need that. This brings up we need to talk about straight up like what happens because the rumor, like again, these rumors are saying by early next year, Microsoft has to make a decision on whether or not they're even going to go ahead and pursue the R&D and manufacturing costs of a next gen console, and that they're seriously considering not doing it now. And there's another rumor that they basically are canceling their portable because AMD wanted a 10 million unit guarantee up front. Um,
Right.
there's, and again, that rumor is a little weird because the person who said that rumor also said that, it took, the Steam Deck has only sold approximately 5 million, and Ally and Legion, each of them have only sold about 1 million each. So wanting, like this with chip manufacturers wanting like a 10 million unit guarantee is like kind of insane because you'd have to double the success of the Steam Deck. But the thing is, here's the thing, as other people pointed out, we actually don't. These are all numbers that could be completely made up because there's never been any official data from Valve or Asus or I forget whoever does Legion, Lenovo. They've never said how many they've sold of any of these things. So the article or the rumor or the person making these rumors, we don't know. They could be pulling numbers out of their ass entirely. The problem is that Microsoft is in such a hole that it just sounds believable at this point. You know?
Well, yeah, that they're just okay. What do you think is the likelihood of them just saying no? They're just done. They're done. They're pulling out.
It's not even that. It's almost not that hard to believe anymore.
I give
Because
it minimum
I
50
think
50.
that this year just kind of made it believable, where it was like they didn't raise the price of the console once, but twice this year, and there was a 50%. It's a 50% increase on Game Pass Ultimate out of the blue. Starting next month for the subscribers, and I'm just like, I don't think they want to. My whole video was like, I've never seen this. I have never seen this. We did the whole podcast episode on 1994 and how everyone who had any sort of tech branch of a company was trying to make a video game system in the mid 90s. Everyone was, Panasonic and Magnavox. They agreed to make 3DO consoles. Philips made the CDI. Atari kept trying to jump back in, with its stuff. Like they're Apple and Pippin, and Bandai, Pippin, like Bandai in Japan, Apple out here with the Pippin console. Like all these people were trying to do these. We're just trying to jump in and make a video game console in the mid 90s. And when they failed, when they inevitably crashed, and they crashed pretty hard and fast, they didn't raise the price. Like Jaguar didn't suddenly decide, yeah, well, we're really not doing well. Let's raise the price of the Jaguar. Saturn, when it failed, like when it was starting to slip, they started bundling their three biggest games, like Sega Rally, Virtua Fighter 2, and like Virtua Cop 1 or 2 with the system. They would put some of their most known titles free with the system of the Saturn to try to get they dropped the price of the Saturn. Like when Dreamcast was failing, Sega dropped the price of the Dreamcast. There was a point where they were trying to do agree to subscribe to SegaNet for a year or two, and we'll give you a free Dreamcast. Like that was an idea they were floating around at the end there.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't remember hearing about that. I would have done that.
I don't know if it ever happened, but it was an idea they were floating around in 2000, 2001. But my point is, everyone tried to do something. Everyone tried to all right, 3DO drastically started dropping in price, immediately, from 700 to 500 to 300 to $100 to $70. Like they were doing everything they could to make the we got to sell units. Microsoft was like, we're failing miserably, raise the price.
What?
Like to me, I'm like, this is nihilistic, suicidal, chaotic. It's just, I don't care. Get whatever money you can left, because to me it just seems like I've given up.
We're looking at this from the wrong perspective.
Squeeze whatever last drop you can out of the consumer base, because the brand is poison. We don't care. We're not here to and like you've always said, they've never been a hardware company.
No,
they've never liked hardware. So it's like, all right, get what you can out of it and shitify it, and then let's just bail and and go to software only.
What did the stock price do on the days that they announced price increases?
I think it went down, and people were like, oh, it has like this. The thing is, though, I mean, stocks are so weird now because shit could drop and bounce immediately. It almost doesn't matter anymore.
Buy the dip.
Yeah, exactly.
Buy all the dips.
Oh, a bunch of people sold it off. You know what happens then? A bunch of Robinhood assholes jump in and buy.
Yeah.
So
well, people that don't, they just see the drop and they're like, oh, line only go up. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about indie gaming.
Right. So
I know that we've sort of, we were going to do this as a side quest topic. For those of you that don't know, we do side quests for Patreon, but Kickstarter is part of sort of one facet of where indie gaming might be going. It's you might be like me going, wait, they still kickstart games, and I have trust issues with Kickstarter and games.
Yeah.
But is it a way that indie games, especially in a post Microsoft, so Microsoft, let's say they get rid of hardware, they're not going to be a hardware company, they're now just a third party publisher.
Yeah.
There's only 2 hardware companies. Does that mean that it's easier to be an indie publisher, or harder? Because now you only have to try and get on 2 consoles.
I don't think indies ever really had it easy on Xbox, and the only time they did is if they got like a bit of like maybe a pay bump from being on Game Pass, which I've heard it going both ways for indies.
Yeah, like
Some of us like
they
it.
got more money up front, but if they got popular, they lose out
Yeah,
on a
like
bunch of money.
it was like some people like it ruined our game. Some people like it saved our game. Um, it kind of could go either way. Nowadays it's actually it's weird and interesting because we just had another indie game, Megabonk, sell 1 million copies in 2 weeks, and it's just 3D Vampire Survivors. It's exactly just that with some Risk of Rain mechanics.
Which I am now
Um,
officially balls deep into.
yeah, and
Vampire
and
Survivor.
again, and it's not even it's super low end graphics. Like we're talking like PlayStation 1, early PlayStation 1 looking graphics on the thing. Um,
The
in a
sexiest
game,
time.
yeah, and it costs like $10, and I think it had a sale, like a launch sale, so it was less. Most of the sales are less than $10, 7, 8, I don't know, $8 or $9 were what people were buying it for, and it sold 1 million copies because it just blew up really fast because it's just got that addictive quality to it. The question really is now is how as an indie developer do you find the time and means to budget? I think it's difficult because of, like you said, with Kickstarter it's difficult because there's definite trust issues there. There were people who got really burned from Kenji Inafune with Mighty Number 9 and Red Ash, which didn't even happen. um and there were some other like really fucked up Kickstarter projects
Right.
that just kind of burned the bridge. And then some of them came out, and some people weren't really super thrilled with them. Frankly, I was totally fine. I was on board, and I had my expectations were in check, and I knew, what the money was and what it was. So when I'm talking about ukulele, some
Yeah,
people
you
were kind
did.
of disappointed by it. And I'm like, well, it was made by like half the staff at half the budget of Banjo Kazooie in '98. I got what my expectations were in check, and I enjoyed it. And it has a remaster coming out this week, and hopefully, that'll solve whatever issue. But some people expressed disappointment. A lot of it came from reviewers who didn't back it anyways. But then you had successes. You had Shovel Knight, which was a big success for Kickstarter.
Huge. Yeah.
Shantae was pretty much a success on Kickstarter when they did a Kickstarter Shantae. Bloodstained, I think, came out pretty well for most people. So you do have your success stories in Messenger and Sea of Stars. Although Sea of Stars, some people are really weird about that one. And I for the life of me, I can't figure out why.
I
A lot of it just saying like, oh well, I didn't like I guess from the story perspective. And part of me is just kind of like, I don't know how many JRPGs have like amazing stories. I'm a JRPG guy, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you like a lot of them have amazing stories. They don't. Um,
well, okay. Are you a JRPG guy, or are you specifically one JRPG? Because you love Xenogears, but like, or
Hellblade.
Xenoblade rather. But like, do you love JRPGs in general?
I mean,
Because you hate anime.
honestly, I'm kind of
Anime.
picky. I'm kind of picky, really. Like, but
No,
all
there's
my
nothing wrong with that.
JRPGs I love are very anime, though. Love Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
Love Chrono Trigger. Love Grandia. Grandia 1. Love Grandia 1. Love Skies of Arcadia. Love Skies of Arcadia. Loved,
Skies of
loved Yeast.
Arcadia is super anime.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I love
it's
them.
hard to
But
not.
like,
There's always that
there's,
running joke by the like I I had this is a little bit of a sidetrack with anime, but for the longest time I had a love-hate relationship with anime because there's some anime that like I really liked, but there's a lot of anime tropes that I just like
yeah.
drove me nuts. And a lot of that what it turned out was like Andres Labrada Noir, for those of you that pay attention to the Yo Video Games community artists and stuff too. Um, he's a manga artist, and he was just kind of like, "Oh, it's because you're watching bad anime or you're reading bad manga," and so he started like throwing me the good shit and like giving me recommendations, and it has changed my perspective on anime and manga entirely. And I wonder if that's the same with JRPGs because there's JRPG. I mean, if you love, it's not a JRPG technically, but like if you love any of Kojima's stuff, there's some real anime bullshit there.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can't deny, like you
Very
can't
much so.
pretend. Um, so I'm much more open minded about anime.
But I mean, the thing is
anything.
like when you go to Japan and you see like the bookstores and libraries
Mhm.
of books of manga and you kind of realize I'm like, it's like saying movies suck, and like you hate movies, Andrew.
Yeah. No, no, I
You
know
hate all
exactly what you mean.
film. You hate film, and it's like
Yeah.
when you understand like the width and depth that is covered with manga and even anime to an extent in Japan. Again, how Del Toro kept trying to tell people, even when he won the Oscar, was like, it's not a genre. It's a medium. It's just a way. It's just a way to make a movie, but it is not a genre. And then you realize that like as much as even we fall into the trap of calling, oh, this is super anime, that almost means nothing in Japan. To say something is anime, you mean like, oh, you mean it's hand drawn?
I mean, I'm never gonna stop making jokes about it, especially the tropes that I find especially funny, because it's just jokes. But it is when you meet somebody who is actually like truly fully dismissive of just anime or manga, like there. I can't remember if we both know this guy who like the argument of Western comic books versus manga, and in a sense that yeah, they're the same, except that manga is more like each one's more akin to a graphic novel would be. Like
Yeah,
comic books here for the longest time, and I think maybe even still are serialized in a way that's
yeah,
different than how manga's serialized too. It's in like weekly and monthly and stuff like that, but the stories themselves are continuous. They don't comic books get restarted
yeah.
and
Well, and that's
redone
kind of
and
what, and it honestly, it's what burned me out to American, well, cape
yeah,
shit as we call it,
yeah,
because things can't end. Things have to go on in perpetuity.
right. And
Characters can't
manga
ever really,
ends.
yeah. Like manga
Yeah,
will have the like, no one's ever really gone, and that's kind of what I'm starting to hate more and more. Is the idea that like, oh no, we're never. Well, you never have an ending. A character's never going to have an end. Like the story will go on forever. We'll just pass it off to the next artist and writer, and I'm like, that sucks.
yeah,
Personally, like
yeah. We're
that's
gonna
terrible.
reboot
I think that's a
Batman
terrible
again.
way to look at a story, but to narratively be. But anyways, but yeah, like I'm picky in a sense, but there's I had a strange number of people on my own stream kept asking me, "Am I going to play this Digimon game? Are you going to play Digimon? Are you going to play Digimon?" Like some Digimon time game came out, and they're like, "Oh, it's a JRPG. You play JRPGs?" And I'm like, "When have I ever said anything about Digimon?" Like it was just this weird thing. I'm like, I'm not a 6 to 10 year old boy now who's into Digimon, and I wasn't a 6 to 10 year old boy when Digimon came out, so I have no nostalgia for it. So no, I'm not playing a Digimon because it's an RPG, a JRPG. I'm like, this means nothing to me because I was too old for it when it came out, so I have zero nostalgia, and I'm not a 6 to 10 year. It's they're still kind of made for 6 to 10 year olds. Like it's Digimon. Like there is a targeted that is a age targeted specific product, and I'm not
Yeah, but
that
I mean,
age.
Pokemon is also an age range specific, and there's tons of grown ass people who
Yeah,
play
but I
that.
kind of love the, not love, but the thing that I respect about Pokemon is it never tries to like. There's
Be
never any
edgy.
expectations. Like, look, man, we make games for 6 to 10 year olds, and once that for 6 to 11, and once that 5 year gap has gone, we start a new generation. We don't try to age with our audience. We always jump back to the next group of little kids that are discovering Pokemon for the first time, and I almost respect them for that because they're never trying to sell you on anything that they're not. They're like, no, Pokemon is Pokemon. It is for kids. And if you like it, great. But we're not ever going to try to be what we're not.
You
We're not
don't
ever going
want
to try
a
to like,
hyper realistic adult
yeah,
Pokemon where it's Monster Hunter?
yeah. Well, the Monster Hunter's there for you,
Yeah.
if you want that kind of thing, or I don't know. It feels like to me, it feels very genuine. Like Pokemon is very much what it is. Now they don't spend the money they make, and their games look like shit, and they pretty much were scamming people with Scarlet Violet, straight up. Not
I
gonna
mean,
let
I
that one
I
go
I
ever,
do
but
wish they would start pushing it a little bit in terms of visual quality and stuff like that.
yeah.
Like, yeah, a
But
little
I
bit.
also
But
I just respect that like Pokemon never tried to do like well, we're in our attitude era, we're in our edgy phase. I'm like they just no, we're Pokemon. We make games for 6 to 11 year olds, and we're going to keep making games for 6 to 11 year olds and that's going to be how it, and that's how it's done, and it served them very well. It's like Mickey Mouse in a sense. You know, Disney never sat there and tried to say, like, well, what if Mickey Mouse had, you know, suicidal tendencies when he hit his teenage years? No, it's Mickey Mouse. He is what he is always.
Disney's 13 Reasons Why.
Now you can reinvent him a bit and make him funny again, like they did do. All credit to Paul Ruddish and his team of animators and writers. They did make Mickey Mouse amazing again, which he hadn't really had that in a long, long time with those YouTube shorts. Now there's a whole fucking ride based on it.
Wait, which ride is this?
Runaway Railway.
Huh.
Oh man, I know you haven't been with theme park in a while, but someday, Andrew.
I'm actually. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't think I've been to Disneyland in 10 years, 11 years.
Pre-COVID.
Is that? Yeah. You
haven't seen the Star Wars shit.
I haven't been to Star Wars at all. No. Is that not wild?
One day we'll make this happen, Andrew.
The last time I went, I think I was just starting to date my now wife, and it was my first time trying Dole Whip. I had never had Dole Whip in the myriad times that I had gone to Disneyland.
You know, I didn't actually have one of those Dole Whips till I was well into my adulthood. So
they fuck.
Well into it.
They fuck.
They do.
Sorry, to get back to indie games and specifically like Kickstarter games, the only one that I can think of that I was sort of like, oh, I'd be down, but I don't think I would. I didn't back it. I'd be willing to buy it. It was, I think, Mina the Hollower, and that got delayed again.
Just got delayed. It was supposed to come out Halloween, and now it's been indefinitely delayed.
Yeah.
It's had a rough time getting that game out. I don't know what's going on there, but
Kickstarter in general, I'm not a huge fan because it seems like
but the thing is, like, it's a Yacht Club Games game, and they've had a lot of good Shovel Knight content come out. So I guess I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And when it does come out, you buy it. How about that? You know, when it comes out and if it's good, you'll buy it.
Well, that's the thing. I will buy. That's my entire plan, is buy it when it comes out. The reason that I have a problem with funding, like, kickstarting games right now is, like, Kickstarter as a platform can sometimes incentivize long, dragged out production times.
Sometimes sometimes that's on the dev, and sometimes that's not on the dev.
No, that's
which, as a paying consumer, that doesn't mean shit to you. That's kind of the problem here, is that you could be a very hardworking, earnest developer on Kickstarter, and to be fair, your Kickstarter, you can even be upfront about it. Like, my Kickstarter is not to fund the whole game for a whole small team. It is to help us build a bigger vertical slice and show proof of concept to a publisher who will then give us a shit ton of money, way more than the Kickstarter, for us to actually develop and finish the title. Because that's what a lot of these Kickstarter things are. They're not even necessarily about the money you raise. Is basically like it's ringing a dinner bell for a publisher, usually someone like 505 Games or someone else, some smaller publisher.
Yeah,
to
look,
be like,
see, there's
okay,
interest. Yeah.
Oh, there is a lot of interest here. I will then we will give you the rest of the money. Like, you know, you raised $1 million on Kickstarter. You need 5 to 10 to actually finish the whole game for everything you have planned, especially with all your Kickstarter goals you promised and technically achieved. So, okay, there you have a lot of interest. We will do that. And then, you know, obviously that publisher is going to, you know, reap in a bunch of rewards for that, because
it's the same reason I never really liked kickstarting for film projects.
Yeah. So
it's you're asking the general public to understand the back end.
Yeah. And you can be upfront about that on your Kickstarter, and many of them are. But what can happen, though, is that the publisher themselves can drag their feet. They might say, oh, well, if you can, they may have told them, if you can raise this much money, you know, they're like the dad from Angels in the Outfield. You know, like, when are we going to get back together, Dad? You know, when the Angels win the pennant. The Angels win the pennant. Never mind. Like, that can happen with a publisher where it's like, you know, hey, will you help us fund our game? Well, if you got this much money on Kickstarter, we'll do it. How about that? Okay, we got the money on Kickstarter. I still don't feel like it. So now the publisher looks like a huge asshole, and it looks like they ran away with a bunch of money. So this is sort of,
it looks like the dev is a huge asshole. Yeah,
and again, this means, and as a person who's paying money into the Kickstarter, that doesn't really mean shit to you, and nor
Right.
kind of should it. It's not really your fucking problem. Someone asked you to help give the money to make a game, you gave them money. The ifs and whys for a lot of people don't really matter one way or the other. And sometimes the devs are just assholes. They'll just take the money and run and disappear. And that's happened plenty of times too. So
Makes me wonder though, with, again, circling back to like there now only being two first parties in this hypothetical.
yeah.
That
I mean,
gets worse, right?
honestly, I think one of the best things Kickstarter people can do is make a demo that publicly can be played for people to see where you're going. There was a game, Immortal, on Kickstarter right now, and it's meant to be a sort of like 2D side scrolling, kind of like Asura's Wrath, but with a very DMC combo heavy system. And I played it, and I even had a dev with me playing it like on stream. Or he was just talking to me on stream while I'm playing the game. Very good, a lot of good feedback, right? It's a very cool game, but they're kind of one of those indie devs who are up front. Like we're doing a Kickstarter, and we hopefully this is being used as a means to get a publisher on board, right?
Hmm.
Because they're even saying like, yeah, we have our initial goal, but we'll be realistic with you. Our initial goal alone is not going to do it, because they had a pretty low initial goal amount. Honest, I felt like it was a low. They're not asking for a lot, and they met it, but they're also kind of like, yeah, but we'll be honest with you, just the initial goal is not going to be enough to make a whole ass game out of this. Do you remember the game Aeon Must Die? That
Yes.
really amazing looking game, and then apparently it came out like how the head of that game was screwing everyone over. These are all the people who got screwed over and left. So they're making a Kickstarter for more. You can play. I think you can play the demo, and they have a contest going. Who can get the biggest combo? On their demo. Like they're doing all kinds of fun stuff. So,
I
and
mean,
it's
sort of rough to be those guys too, and then go right back to Kickstarter.
yeah, but I mean, they're doing to me. They did the right thing, which like here's a playable demo, and it's a roguelike, like where it's
Yeah.
like you go
So you
through
can play
like
the demo a lot.
yeah, you can play the demo a lot. It's like a Metroidvania with sort of roguelike, and it has like this really weird. They call it a bromance system, where like you beat a boss, and you're trying to get out of hell. So you're in hell, and you're trying to fight all these guards and other demons on the way out, and then you try to convince them to join you. And then part of like keeping them on your side is sometimes you may have to like beat them up again on a different run and being like, all right, keep 'em, or you can kill them. And then like they have a whole renown system where it's like you become notorious, and feared based on if you just kill the bosses outright, after you beat them, and how you kill them. Do you kill them to make a statement, stuff like that. So there's all this like fun stuff in the game. And I played it and it's cool. So that's a game that's like on Kickstarter right now, and it's trying, they're trying to get enough, enough coverage, or just people talking about it, seeing it. And obviously if you like Devil May Cry stuff, if you like
Perfect game
um
for you. Yeah.
yeah, and then there's other demos too. I'm trying to think, if I don't know if it was a um there's a game called Lucid. I also had a dev on me for that, and I don't think that's a Kickstarter game, but it is very much like Celeste style, like
Yeah.
a
Action
Celeste
adventure
style
RPG.
Metroidvania game. It's a solo dev, and the guy Eric, or he's been talking to me about the game, and I've been giving him some feedback on it, and it's kind of great when you have a playable demo and I can play the demo, and then they can even join me on stream, and talk about the game, and they're meant, and then ask for honest to God feedback live, for everyone seeing it with the demo. So honestly, if there's any sort of wrapping it all up for like indie dev time right now, is there's two things, which is get a demo, no matter how small or whatever. Like word of mouth is so important. We've talked about this so much. Word of mouth
Right.
is going to go so much further. If you have a rock solid demo, like Immortal has a rock solid demo, and Lucid has a rock solid demo. If you have a rock solid demo and you can get people playing that and enjoying it, that is going to go so far. And the other thing is honestly, it's price, man. It's price. Megabonk, $10, 8-10. Peak was like $10 or whatever it was. Repo and all these other games, they're cheap as these friend slop game, as they call them. They're cheap. They're cheap, and they will keep you and your friends entertained for hours.
Yeah.
And I think this is a dollar, like, you talk about, like, oh, the dollar to value, it's still like $80. Video games are still a great deal. You know what's a better fucking deal? $10
yeah.
for free 99, for thousands of hours.
Can't be beat. Yeah.
And I personally I enjoy that. Like, now, granted, games like Peak, games like Mega Bonk and whatever, they look like they look like they look like what they look like. Okay, they're really low res. There's no polish on them at all. They're really
They look like
graphically
$5
rough.
games. Yeah.
They look like $5 games, but they're fun. So I mean, I love this, the Steam page description for Mega Bonk is like, they're like processor potato, like they just wrote potato. They're like, graphics, yes.
Yes.
Like, sound card, any.
All right. I'm gonna end. We're gonna wrap up the episode on a hypothetical. Microsoft's walked away. It's just Sony and Nintendo. Who steps in that leaves an opportunity? Who releases a console, and why is it Tencent?
Oh, I was going to say Saudi Arabia.
China or Saudi Arabia? Actually, yeah, maybe that they might be interested in getting into that. That could be their first foray into like the tech sector, right?
I mean,
gaming.
they bought EA, so
right.
Because here's the thing: like, the problem with all these other big companies, like even Apple, Apple's huge, right? Google was huge with Stadia. What was the problem they all had? They didn't have games. They didn't have games. They didn't have a developer base, right? And what you just said actually makes sense. So if someone were to make a new console, which might sound insane with Microsoft leaving, it would have to be someone like Tencent, who owns not only a shit ton of studios, owns 40% of Epic. They own 40% of the Unreal Engine,
and can eat losses for an entire generation. They could eat a loss,
right,
to become
right. And Saudi Arabia technically has SNK and EA, which couldn't be further away from each other. Like, they're the most opposite you can get in game companies. But they still, at the end of the day, they have EA now, and all the studios that they have that they got with EA, assuming they don't shut all of them down, which they will, or at least a chunk of them, and they have SNK.
Likely.
And so they have bases covered. And again, Saudi Arabia owns small percentages in every single video game company in the world, including Nintendo. So it's not like people might think, like, why do they want to like creep in again? Bro, they've been heavily invested in gaming for years, and
for a long
just
time,
flew way under your radar, and you just didn't think about it. But
This
Tencent's the
is-
same way.
Tencent's a perfect example, especially because the Chinese government is backing video games as like a way of getting cultural wins.
Yes.
Like, and they're clearly, they want that, and okay, that makes sense. We did it with the entire film industry for like the 80s and the 90s. But yeah, the 80s and the 90s was really just kind of like the US. Any movie that had the military in it with like actual military hardware was just the US military going for a cultural win.
No, are you telling me Top Gun was a psyop?
Look, I'm not gonna say it. I don't want anybody's like brainworms to go crazy. No, but like Tencent you could easily see like the Chinese government being like, yeah, we're gonna fund this.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way I
and
can see them.
haha, yeah, cheap Chinese console knockoff you saw at the mall, whatever. We're not talking about that. We're
No, I
talking about
mean-
like Tencent like making a legitimately good set console, box top console kind of thing. And they have the money and funding and power to do it.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's like, oh, they'll make a cheap knockoff. It's like, okay, go look at like a BYD vehicle versus a Tesla and tell me who's the knockoff. Like, the Chinese electric vehicles are rocket ships, basically. They're insane.
Yeah, there was a joke in Back to the Future 3 about how, the 50s Doc, thought, oh, the DeLorean, oh, this is why the DeLorean thing failed. It was made in Japan. That's why it failed. He's like, yeah, well, the best stuff's made in Japan, Doc. Like, because 80s Marty is like talking with 50s Doc, and it's like there was this whole generational divide where it was like, sure, maybe in the past that was, cheap knockoff. But that is not the future. That is not the future. So
Yeah, in the year 2000, something being made in China meant that it was going to be probably pretty crappy. But not today.
especially not tech,
No, yeah,
not
not
tech.
tech.
Like
I mean, there's still
there.
lower end manufacturers in
I
China.
mean,
They manufacture and
there's all
everything in the
kinds of
world, but
rumblings going on that like they denied Nvidia stuff. There was like some big like partnership or deal Nvidia wanted to make in China just flat out rejected, and it's probably because China is going to make a competitor to Nvidia.
maybe
More,
it's
and
it's a
again, so
possibility.
I think what you're actually right there. If there was going to be a new competitor, Microsoft leaves, who comes in? If anyone does come in, Tencent's probably like the safest bet, honestly. Um,
I feel like they are the most likely. Saudi Arabia is an interesting choice because I do agree that they could do it.
they're buying game studios.
They could do it.
So-
The other option that I thought of that I thought would be kind of a funny thing to say because I sort of could see it going really, really bad, but also could see them doing it is Embracer.
they don't have
Like,
the money anymore.
well, yeah, they don't have the money anymore, but like Embracer just suddenly deciding like, well, we own all these companies. We're just gonna like
Yeah, see, the problem with Embracers, like you would think about, because man, that umbrella, so huge.
incredible.
Um, but they have no tech expertise. They have no like nobody. They have no hardware manufacturing background, really.
With off the shelf parts being as accessible as they are today, it feels like they could find their Mark Cerny
Yeah, but you have to
pretty
also
easy.
wonder: would they just be making the next 3DO at that point, where it's like anyone can
We can hope.
manufacture our.
We can hope that they'll be making. Maybe we get 3 or 4 people entering the foray. Look, competition's great for us. I'm not saying it'll be
Yeah,
great for the companies, but
you
like
want
if
to talk
both
about something
Saudi
that's weird,
Arabia and
Andrew?
Tencent jumps in,
You want to know what's weird?
hmm,
I was at a Target the other day.
that
There
is
were
weird.
stacks of Switch 2s just
Yeah,
sitting there. They were in multiple places. They weren't even just in the Nintendo section. They were in other sections. Stacks of Switch 2s. Switch
yeah,
2s. They are not hard to get. Then
nope.
at some point a 5-year-old kid walked around like, "Oh, mommy, look, Switch 2, look at this." And this trophy wife mom was just like, "You already have one of those." She's like, "Well, this one's new." No, it's just the same thing. Come on, let's go.
Should have gave it a new name.
And I'm sitting there thinking, like, we're in trouble. Or I'm like, not we're in trouble. Like, Nintendo might be in trouble
Well, the sales
because,
are fine, but we're obviously going towards a recession.
yeah,
We're
because
in
the
a
thing is,
recession.
it's
They're just not saying it.
$500 and your big two games that you're selling are Mario Kart, which you already, which Mario Kart 8 already exists. It looks almost as good. And it has like 100 tracks versus the 32 in World. And there's Donkey Kong Bonanza, it's nice, which is DK is a good,
Thank
and they're going to try to sell it. The big thing this fall is they're going to try to sell Pokemon Legends on the Switch 2, but it's on Switch 1. It's a cross-gen release, so 150 million people can buy Pokemon Legends Zazaza, and they both look like shit. It just runs at a decent frame rate on Switch 2. Is that a $500 upgrade for most people? Probably not.
Well, I'm going to end the episode on maybe something kind of a hot take. Backwards compatibility was the beginning of the end, and it's the reason why cross gen is so common now, and
Mm.
why you can't get hard delineated generations. We play it ourselves.
I don't know. No, 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 no. I'm gonna have to fully reject, and that's true for Sony a bit. But
Like,
I think for Nintendo, just looking at just the Switch One, most Switch One games from Nintendo didn't push the Switch One. Like Zelda did, Xenoblade did, maybe Smash, maybe. And
sure, but
Switch Two is kind of like,
part of the reason that you know people aren't making the jumps to new generations like they used to, backwards compatibility and now cross gen, every
Mhm.
new generation is expected to be backwards compatible, which means you're going to get a lot of cross gen anyway, because if it can play last gen's games, it can keep playing. Like last gen can probably play some of
What I'm
these
saying
games
is,
too.
with the hardware underneath the hood and a Switch 2, if Nintendo wanted to, they can make games that visually, performance-wise, blow the fuck out of their Switch 1 library.
Right, but
But
why
they're
would they do that when everyone
but
owns
they're
a Switch One?
but they're not. So
Yeah.
they're kind of they're masters of their own sort of, I think, incoming plateau. I'm not gonna say it's not a failure. It's the fastest selling system already. But I'm already, it is October, and there are stacks of these things in retailers. Stacks. So part of me is sitting here like, this thing might plateau next year. I've always said
See
I'm
what
not
Christmas looks like.
yeah, I'm not well, I'm not even and I'm not even concerned about Christmas, although I'm actually more concerned now after seeing so many stacks of them and literally watching parents just brush it off, walk by and brush the whole thing off in front of me. But I said I was never concerned about launch, and I was not concerned about the first holiday season. It's always going to be, what does the first 6 months of next year look like? That might now maybe the holidays even in question now.
Yeah.
But again, I'm still going to be very, very curious because come January, February, March next year, I'm thinking that system's going to plateau like a motherfucker.
Well, is there going to be like, are the major retailers that bought so many units, are you going to see some sort of holiday deal from Walmart, from Target?
Hell no.
If they have hundreds of units just sitting on the floor and they can't sell them, are they going to try and find a way? I'm not saying they're going to drop price on them or something or do like some Black Friday sale, but like they might try to figure out a way to bundle it with like a carrying case or bundle it with, stuff like that. You
I
might see
think
stuff like
I think it'll be okay this holiday season, I guess. Again, I'm still kind of blown away in October. There's stacks of these things. But again, it's like a $500 console with a couple of unique
Yeah.
games on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Interesting.
when I'm just, man, it really feels like this shit is going to plateau hard next year. And when it does, what is Nintendo's, because this is bad. If Microsoft early next year decides fuck hardware, Nintendo Switch 2 plateaus like fucking crazy, and possibly the PS5 as well. Everyone's going to be looking to GTA 6 to sell, save their asses, but GTA 6 will come out and just suck up all the air in the room.
Yeah, I mean, February, I guess by February next year, we're gonna have way more insight to what next year looks like. But I feel like next year might not be a great year just overall for the industry. But I also think next
You
year
know what? I hope it does plateau Nintendo hard. You know why? Because this is gonna fucking force it to play its goddamn hand on the system.
make them
And I
go for
don't
it.
mean Yoshi's Amazing Book, Yoshi's Amazing Butthole,
Oh,
or
they'll have to
Switch
swing for
2
the
edition
fences.
of
Yeah,
Mario Wonder, a years
yeah.
old game already. Okay, I'm sorry. Like I want to force them to play their fucking hand.
It
Because
could. I mean,
I'm feeling
it'd be
I'm feeling a little, not buyer's remorse, but a little bit like, come on, I know you're cooking fucking something there, and it's not just fucking Kirby Air Riders too.
hey, I haven't bought it yet, and so I have nothing to be mad about. Early next year, if things are starting to kick off, things are starting to look really good, and I buy it, then I will be very happy, and then I will play Donkey Kong.
And that's what I want. But that's what I want. I want them to do that. I don't think they're creating FOMO. $100 Virtual Boy helmet is not the fucking FOMO you think it is.
Oh, I almost bought just for that. Are you kidding me? Just to wear that around
Well, the
town?
funny thing is I say that, but I already forgot that works on Switch 1.
It does, yeah. It works on Switch One. On that note, though, we have producers to thank. Again, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Due to the week was Cowie. Thank you, Cowie. And our producers for this episode are Dragon Wolf Makoto, Osnite, Donglemeister, Zybernite, Tsunami, Croy35, LCL Mayhem, and Ziggy Z. Thank you, dudes. We'll catch you next time.
Later, dudes.